In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create these circular bubbles with images within here that will be nicely attached to a specific data point, which in this case would be a specific year. So let's start to look how to do this. So to do this, the first thing what we need is our boiler template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to have the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page. And of course, got a question, put it on Discord. All the links are in the description box. So the first thing that we're going to do here is convert this into a line chart, because that was the specific item here for. So we're going to say here, this will be a line chart. Save that, refresh, there we are. Next, we can make that maybe with a curved line, so we can say here tension will be 0.4, get a curved line. All right, so the next thing what I want to do is, before we can create these bubbles, is to have at least some space with the very top here. So what I'm going to do here in the Y scale, put a comma there, and then we say grace, and let's give it maybe 5 points. That will be more than enough. There we are. So we have enough space here up to create a bubble. Next, what I want to do is I want to change these. Instead of having the days, I'll just put in here the years. That was the example that was requested. So we say here 21, 2022, 2023, and then go on for 2026. All right, so now we have all of this here like that, and make sure these are string values, so we're going to be consistent with that later on as well. So now we have that. Let's scroll down here. We have these here, and what I want to do is here to create a new plugin. So we're going to create here, we say here comma, this will be the bubble, let's type in here plugins, bubble, and then let's copy that. Then I'm going to say a constant bubble plugin equals the ID of bubble, and then we say here before data sets draw, we will draw the before the data set args plugins. Oops, sorry. Then here the plugin options. We'll be using this later on, very important. So what we're going to do here is we say here constant, we're going to do an object destruction, we say here chart object, we'll split it out specifically the CTX, and I'll be needing the data. Since we're playing here with one color line, I think it would just make sense just to have a single color for everything here. Save that, refresh, there we are, we have all these years. And then what we want to do is we want to, for example, say 2022 has a certain icon, and then 2024 as well. So to do that, we're going down here, and then what we're going to say here is ctx.save to save all variables above. Then what I want to do here is say let's see, what do we need here? Basically, I want to have a few things here. I want to first draw a circle and then a line down. Let's do that one first. So to do that, what I will be needing is, I guess we need to get the X and Y coordinates. I'm going to use a special trick for this. Say here console log, say here chart.getDataSetMeta. This is a built-in functionality of chart.js, which just gets the data set of index 0. And we can say here the data index 0, in this case that will be this item, and then we want to say here, for example, I want to get the X value. Doing that, we will just get sorry, we will just get the specific X value, which is 27 pixels in this case, and or I guess, well, that's to the 27 pixels to the right. So if you do Y, you get whatever the value would be here. Of course, this still means nothing, and you can see here as well the movement. Of course, this still means nothing because we still need to draw the line. So let's start to keep this in mind, and now let's start to draw a line. So ctx.begin path. I'm going to say I'm going to create a new shape that's independent of anything else. I will give it a color in advance. So I say here, what do you call that? This stroke, ctx stroke style. Stroke style equals what exactly? I want to get this specific color for the borderline, but I want to grab that one. That's why we have the data here. So I say here the data sets index 0 dot border color, and that is as well index 0. If this is not an array, you could remove basically these items, then it's not an array. You could just basically do it like that. This is just a single value, then instead of it's not, then we just do the single value here as one or the other. I'll just keep it in an array because most of the time you might have values, and having it like this is very consistent. All right. So then I want to say here begin path because I'm going to draw an item. Then I'm going to say ctx.move to get the x and y coordinates of this point, and then we want to go up a little bit. What I will do here, you see this here, I'll just say here constant y equals the y value for index 0, and then constant x equals the x value. Here I'll just do x and y. There we are. Then we say x, y. Then what I want to do here is ctx.line to draw the line. We still say x, but I want to go up. So that means y negative 10, because negative is going closer to the 0. Up is 0. Down would be 300 or 500 pixels, whatever the length of this is. The last of the longest part here. So if we're going up, we need to go in a negative position. All right. So once we did that, we're going to say ctx.stroke style, and there we are. Oh no, not stroke style, stroke to draw the item. Let's save that, refresh, and there we are. And as you can see, we're even moving along nicely. So what I want to do now is, let's push this a little bit more up. Let's say 20, that will be more nicer. There we are. Now what I want to do is I want to have a circle. Let's build a circle as well. And what if you want to make the stroke style a bit more thicker, or border width will be equal to this? It's one or the other. So what I'm going to do is just going to copy this. We say here border width, and I'm going to say here this will be the line width. It will be whatever this is. There you are. So if I make this 5, it should become thicker as well. There you are. It's all nicely aligned. Beautiful. All right, so now we've got that one. Let's do the next part, which is creating a new shape. So we can just grab this, put it in there. And then what I'm going to say here, well, this is the stroke, because we want to draw still the line, but we want to have now an arc. So say ctx.arc, and the arc has 6 values, which is the x coordinate, the y coordinate, which I will keep it like this, exactly the same. And then we have here the radius, and the radius, let's give it a 20 pixel radius. So I'll just say a constant radius equals 20, and you can change this anything you want. Later on we'll fix that as well. Then we have here angle start and angle end, and finally counterclockwise, which I set on false by default. Angle start, we're going to make a 360 circle. So we're going to say 0, and then we're going to say here as well something. And what we can do here is, well, basically we have to calculate this still, but we say angle by 360. So we have to make this constant here, which is an angle, and we're going to say here math.pi divided by 180. Why? 2 pi is a full circle, 1 pi is a half circle, and a half circle is equal to 180 degrees. So I'm just going to divide that and then just multiply it here. And this one could be angle multiplied by 0 equals 0. So 0 can be just nicely, it's nice and concise. That's more better. All right, so once we have this, let's save this and see if we're getting something. There we are, we're getting something, but it is out of position. And I think here the radius should be only 10. So I have a small circle, but I want to move this up. So we know if the radius is 10, that means that from this point to this is 10, this is 20. How many pixels do I need to move up? Well, probably 20 or even more. Let's do minus 20. There we are, we are getting here. I think we can even do another 10 more. So it will be minus 30. That's it. Beautiful. All right, so now we have that one. So the next step, what we want to do is we want to have an image in here, and we want to have a background color. So let's add up a background color in here. So I'm going to say ctx.fill for now, without even specifying a background color. By default, it will be black. So what I'm going to do now here is give that a background color. So we can just say here ctx.fill style will be equal to, let's give it white. Very straightforward. So it will be like that. There we are. And then what we can do here, I do feel like the line width could be maybe a little bit thicker in there. Let's make this line width 2 and see how that goes. I think that's slightly better. Alright, so now we have all of that. So what I want to do then is, while we have all of this, I want to make sure that we say ctx.restore to undo everything afterwards. We have the save here, because the reason why is, if we're going to make another item, this line width will maybe be sent over here, although we have it specified here. So we just want to restore to undo everything afterwards. So we're not done yet. What we need to do now is we want to say we're going to create a new item with the bubble. So basically I'm going to create a plugin, and then we're going here, put a comma, we say a plugin. Then I'm going to say here, this will be the bubble plugin. This is our own custom plugin. And then what I'm going to say here is, well, what can we do? I would like to specify the, wherever we're going to put a bubble should be specified by a year. So what I can say here is, for example, year. I create an array, and this array will be a string value, say 2022, comma 2024. Remember, this is string because we're going to use the values here. We're going to use that with an index of, and to do that, it should be identical and not a number, or else these need to be numbers, and everything needs to be exactly the same logic. Since these are numbers here but string, it's alright. We can leave it like this as a string value. So we have to make sure that this is a string value as well. So what I want to do now is we want to do a for each loop. And this for each loop will change this value here, because right now we have a solid value, but if I change this to 1 and 1, you will see that we will move or change the position of it. So what we can do here now is basically a for each loop. We say plugins dot, and I'm going to say here year. You might wonder, why are we not using bubble? Because the ID is bubble. So basically this says here bubble or plugin bubble dot year. So then what I can do here is a dot for each, and with this for each we can just say here year comma index, and then we do like that. There we are. So now what I want to do next is copy everything, and I think that restore could be even removed, but we'll see later on. There we are. And then for this here we need to convert this. So what I want to do here now is searching what is the year I specified down here and where that is on the labels. So what I'm going to say here is constant, let's call this the label index. And the label index will be the data dot data sets index 0. And then I'm going to say here, oh sorry, that's not even like that. We should have, what do we need here? Data.labels. If you're wondering why, it is from data directly to the labels, not to the data sets, because the data sets doesn't have the labels object. Remember that, or the labels namespace. So we say here index of, and then what we're going to search for is this specific year. Once I know what this year is, I know the index number of the 2022. If that is correct, we should be now able to put that in here, and it should draw multiple items, 2022 and 2024. So let's do this 2025, save, beautiful. All right, and as you can see, it moves nicely. So this all works. So the next thing, what I would like to do here is starting to add the image then. And this here is all working. The restore, I think everything works fine. But what I want to do here is I do need to have like what we call an if statement. The reason why is if we don't have this, what happened here? It breaks it. Not allowed to have this. So what we want to do here is first do a check. We say if the plugins dot year question mark. So if this exists, we're going to check here if there's any length. If the length is larger than 0, in that case, we're going to do what we've got here. Cut this out, put it in there. There we are. Then let's save that, refresh. All right, that works. What happens if I just hide this? Say this doesn't exist. Then we don't draw any bubbles. Beautiful. All right, so we've got that now. Let's start to get the next part, which is the image. So for the image, I'm just going to use this specific image here. So I'm going to copy this image address, which is basically this one here. There we are. That's the image. So then what I will do is just quite simple here. Well, what we want to do is comma. I'll just call this here the image URL, and this will be a string value, and this will be a string value as well. So we just do 2 of those, assuming that you have different ones, so you can change them to what you want. It should always be matching with those years. All right. So now let's start to put them in here. So what I'm going to do here is this if statement here, because we have everything in here. Once we are in here, I want to create a new constant, which is the image. So I say img equals the new image object. This new image object has a source value, which is basically what exactly the item in here. So what I'm going to say here is plugins dot image URL, that was the term, index, whatever the index is. All right. So once we have that, now we have this image. We have to make sure it loads on the right moment or draws on the right moment. We have here the arc. We have here the fill style. So what we want to do is we have to make sure, because the fill style has a white background here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's save that, refresh. It has a white background. So we want to make sure it will be after the fill. Then we're going to draw our image. So I'm going to say here ctx.draw image, and then we're going to say here for the draw image, then we have here basically the source, which is img in this case, and then we're going to say here the xy coordinates, and then we're going to say here the width and height of the image. Because I know our radius is 10, that would mean that it's 20 pixels from top to bottom. So what we could do here is maybe say radius times 2 for the width, multiplied by 2. Here radius multiplied by 2. Save that. This here is the img that we already have. And then we have here the x and y coordinates. Let's save that. Refresh. There we are. So right now, of course, we need to push it up, but you see the image is starting to appear. Let's go up. How much do we need to go up? Well, we have here the -20. I think we need to go even further up. But let's see. So we're going to say for the y, negative. And then, not sure for the image. Well, probably, if this image is 20, you can see here, we need to move in the center -10. Probably a -10. Let's save that. Refresh. All right. How many pixels was the height of our line? 30. This line is 20, and then the circle, well, if this is 20, then starts from here, we probably have to double the size of it. So maybe 40 or 50. Let's do 40. There we are. 40 is here, or 20 goes up to here, but the image is 20 pixels, so we need to go, then we are up here, that's 40. That makes all sense, and there we are. So let's see if we can change that one more time. I'm going to say here, comma, 2024. Save. All right, as you can see here, it doesn't draw this one, of course, because we have a missing value, but it still keeps on going and it will not break the code. And there we are. That's it.